So I thought today I would give you a bit of an update about how I'm finding it. A bit over a year on after my dad died. He died in February 2025 and was diagnosed around this time in 2024. So me and Pedro are out in the New Forest, like we're looking at today. And I find it's a funny thing now with grief because it doesn't feel acute in the way that it did, say, this time last year. But there's like ripples of it in my unconscious. So it's also been a year, a few days ago, since my nan died, and I was in the room with her in the nursing home with my mum, my sister, and my cousin when that happened. And I didn't have Nan's death date on my radar, I think because of everything that had gone on with Dad, and yeah, like I was just trying to work out my life, I guess. Yeah, it didn't really register. So it's interesting that the night before she died, even though I didn't have it kind of consciously in my calendar, I had some nightmares. And well, one that was like the start of 28 days later, but if the monkeys were in a space station, it's all very strange. Anyway, I woke up and I felt myself a bit kind of, I don't know, a bit like off. I find that with dreams that are grief related, it's like it often takes me until a bit later in the day to go like, oh, there's something going on here. Because it's like a wake up, you just get on with your day and then you just sort of feel a bit unsettled. Now, I was a bit teary. I've been working in the campsite shop for 12 hours a week at the moment, which I love. But in the morning, I could feel myself kind of like welling up. I was like, oh gosh, you might need to go and get yourself sorted out. And they're just sad songs. It felt like there were only sad songs on playing on the TV. And I got back home. I looked on Facebook that evening and Mum had posted about Nan dying that day in the previous year. And I thought, oh, I wonder if, somehow unconsciously it was kind of in my mind because there was nothing else that I could have picked up on really. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm very curious around grief is that it sort of lives in the depths, I think. It just seems more unconscious even than something like anger. Anyway, it feels like it's a very curious experience, and it's definitely not like a linear thing, It's not like you can just kind of process it. I'm going to grab Pedro's lead so he doesn't wander off. And then you're kind of done. Like this morning, I've come out here and just had a bit of quiet time. I could feel myself again being not quite out of sorts, but just like something like in my body. I'm like, what is this? I was like, oh, I miss my dad. Yeah. And the thing is, like, we didn't see him a huge amount growing up. So my parents divorced when I was 8, and then, oh God, my hair's awful today. My parents divorced when I was 8, and then we only saw him a couple of times a year. I saw him more in my kind of late teens, like early adulthood and things, and then we didn't see him so much for a period before he died. Well, I didn't. So it's a funny thing with grief around a parent that you weren't as close to as you would have liked to have been. Like there was a lot of like mutual respect between me and my dad towards the end. A kind of I don't know, sort of shared perspective on some things in life, and yeah, much more of a sense of ease than I'd had around him when I was growing up. And because I just didn't know him, and he had this big job in the Foreign Office, and yeah. Anyway, I might go into my relationship with him a bit more another time, just with mindful other family who might watch these videos. But yeah, so it's not like when he died, I just lost like the person that he was, and the memories I'd wanted to be able to still create with him. I also, I guess, kind of re-grieved or just started to grieve like the life and the relationship that I didn't get to have with him in the first place, and that sort of percolates, I think, sometimes. Yeah, it's a funny old thing, isn't it? I wonder what your experience of grief is. I also find that if I post about it sometimes, like unless I'm actually like talking about it on a video and you can see how I am, I think people occasionally I'll get like an odd comment or two where I think people are more like fragile than I am. Like I'm really well. I think what my Buddhist practice kind of gave me was a much bigger container for that experience to drop into. So although I've had some very big emotions around it, and like the 6 months between when he was diagnosed and when he died were just awful, yeah. And I was quite involved in kind of his care and looking after him and stuff towards the end. And then I led his funeral. So, it was a lot, but I felt, I can just describe it as like feeling like a bigger container, that like the big emotions could be there, and they definitely affected me. And there's a lot that I found really challenging through that period. And there's, I knew there would be things I would look back and maybe wonder if I could have done differently. But I just felt pretty resourced, I guess, during that period. And it's what enabled me to then go on and lead his funeral. Like, I had quite a few people ask, like, how on earth could you do that? It's like, well, I am an ordained Buddhist like this. What that means is I'd gone through a very substantial training process to get ordained that really involved me looking at my mental states, my communication, how I work with my nervous system, and keep doing as best as I could to just keep trying to act according to my values and not get blown about too much when things are difficult in my life. It's a really good book, by the way, called Sailing the Worldly Winds. I think it's by Vajragupta in my order, and that I love that image of getting blown about by the winds, and how do we kind of stay rooted in our values when things are difficult. It's a very, very good book. I used that a lot when I was more involved in the early days. So I have some days where it's not really conscious anymore, like, oh gosh, I miss Dad, or gosh, that was awful, because like there were some experiences around his dying that were a bit traumatic, particularly when he was in a lot of pain around some bed sores and we couldn't get him the help that he needed straight away. But it's more that I think it just kind of affects my energy sometimes, and I don't always know that is the thing that's affecting me. In some ways it was a bit easier when it felt a bit more acute, because like, oh, you're really struggling today, we need to get off to a cafe, or we need to do this, or got Pedro, and then I just looked after Pedro when he was tiny. Whereas when it's more kind of like low level, it can feel a bit harder to catch. And because I run my own business and basically live like a hermit quite a bit of my life, I'm on my own quite a bit in the day, it can be harder, I think, to clock, oh, this is the thing that's going on, because it more kind of manifests as like low energy, or finding it hard to concentrate, or feeling a little bit lost in the work, as in like, oh gosh, I'm not sure what I'm doing at the moment. And it's actually about this thing that's going on. So what I need to just keep doing, I think, is, well, it's a mix of things. I need to have a bit of time on my own when I can actually work out what's going on, which is different to getting yourself a little bit isolated. I think actually like checking in with yourself instead of just getting caught in rumination or a kind of low mental state is quite a different thing, which is why I came out here today and just took my coffee, I think, and sat down for a little bit. And it wasn't a conscious decision. I wasn't like, oh, you need to go and process some stuff. It was more, I felt like, oh, I just need a little bit of room. And yes, you need to be able to do that. And what that does mean is that if you've got caregiving responsibilities, you need to find a way to be able to put that down a little bit. So something that shifted for me was even just putting Pedro on a lead right now. I can just see there's a person going past. He might have a dog, so keep an eye on him. But yeah, like when I'm worried about, is he going to run off? Of course I can't relax. So actually just putting him on a long line, he's been very good actually. He's just been hanging out with me. He does this when we have coffee. That's been kind of straightforward for me today. So it just meant I could relax. I can feel myself now actually like wondering what's going on and where that other dog is, and am I going to need to do anything? But yeah, if you're at all like wondering, like, is the thing that I meant to look after okay? Then it's important to set things up as best as you can so you know that they're safe. I'm sure it's not just something for women, but I think we're particularly primed and conditioned and wired to be checking in that the things that we love are safe, whether it's dog or a family member or colleagues or friends, whatever. And I find it difficult, and maybe you find it too, to actually kind of fully come into myself as long as there's quite a bit of my attention like out in the world and checking that everyone's okay. Just like to see him, he looks so cute, doesn't he? So yeah, even now, just popping on a lead is what this dog went past has just been helpful for me to just settle a little bit, and I could actually check in my body. So yeah, it's not like actually checking in with yourself isn't just about being isolated and on your own, because you can be on your own and stuck in your mental states, which is good, it doesn't go anywhere. And also you can be on your own but still be worried about other people. So there are little things that you can do, like setting up your do not disturb settings on your phone, for example. But I think you need to make sure that you know what will happen if someone needs to be contacted. For example, if you have kids, like if you wanted to come out like me today and have a bit of time on your own, make sure that you've got things set up with someone else, so that if the person who like relies on you for care like needs you, that the other person is contacted. Like, I don't know, getting in contact with school, for example, and saying like, actually today I just need you to contact my husband, for example, yeah, if anything is going on. So sometimes there is a little bit of setup that's needed in order for you to be able to come back into yourself. And then I find it helpful to like walk for a while. I definitely need to do that. It's like I often wake up with probably some residual energy from whatever I've dreamt about, and then I can feel a bit of my attention's like you're working out like, oh, the dog's Pedro's like, what's going on? I think we're okay. Yeah, I often find I wake up probably from any dreams that I've had with some kind of like energy stirring around, and I need to wake up a little bit more. So for me, getting out and going out for a walk when it's quiet, and then sitting down, bringing my coffee. I come out with Pedro, so I bring some like water for him as well. And we go out and have a big run. So, well, he has a run. I just walk quite fast, so he gets out of this system. And then, as you can see here, he just comes and just chills out. So, yeah, think about what you would need to, I think, work through any kind of fizzy energy. Like I was thinking about work things first of all this morning. And what do I then do? Yeah, I like to sit down at some point, and for a while I just take in my surroundings, and then I start noticing how I feel in my body. You'll often hear me say, then come into your body. What I mean is notice the physical sensations of your body. Yeah. Like, what does it feel like in your tummy, in your face, feeling like the contact of your body on the ground? The great thing about having a dog with me, although I'm less kind of sort of present with myself in some ways, but he does help me to ground just by giving him a little stroke. Like that. So I find that very helpful. And then you can just see like what's going on underneath. Like, because I'm in regular connection with the different parts of me that struggle a little bit in life, like my ADHD brain that's very chaotic, and this grief. For me, it's quite quick to just notice, oh, what might be going on in my emotional states. But if you haven't got that relationship struck up already, there are things that you can do to help with that without getting too stuck in your thoughts. So I think if you can relate to this part of you like as another like individual, yeah, or kind of sort of not quite separate entities, you're not trying to like disassociate from it, but almost having like a little character for it, or be finding ways to be in conversation. I do that a lot with my clients as we go over these different like techniques for doing that. That can really be really helpful, because then you can just ask yourself, well, what's going on? Like, what do you need today? And be in like dialogue, like you would a friend, really. Yeah, treat that other part of you as a friend. Like, is there anything going on? Other people find writing easier. There might be images that come up. Yeah, different things work for different people. And then often I will try and find a way of giving expression to what's coming up. Like, these videos for me, to be honest, are just very helpful for me processing my stuff. But you might find that you want to do some writing or have a chat to someone when you get back about what came up. Then you're in this kind of like ongoing communication. Yeah, it's like you come out of the world, you have a bit of time to ground in yourself, see what's going on physically, emotionally. I had a little bit of a cry. Like, I had a moment And I was like, oh, I just miss my dad. And I'd welled up, had a few tears, and it didn't go on for that long. Actually, partly because then Pedro, I was like, where's Pedro? He just like disappeared for a few minutes. Yes, you don't need to get stuck in those feelings. I think what women are often used to doing, or you believe, is that there's only two options with difficult emotions. Yeah, either you're gonna experience them and get stuck there, yeah, which is easy enough to do. So you need techniques to make sure you don't do that, or you can get yourself out of it if you do. So yeah, you're worried that either you'll get stuck, or you just got this kind of belief that you just have to like just get on with it. You know, kind of like push your feelings back into a box and just kind of crack on and do the things you need to do. Because if you were to look, then you would realise how overwhelmed or upset you were, or however lost you were feeling, whatever, and then you would get stuck. Yeah, so it's either like you're trying to push things back in the box, or you feel like, oh my gosh, if I open the box, they're going to open this can of worms, for example, and then it's all going to be a bit much. But there is a different way. Yeah. The difficulty of filming things in the wind. Sorry, but I do actually have to sort that out. Yeah, there we go. By the way, I'm not like this if I'm giving keynote speeches. If anyone is ever watching these videos and is like, oh my gosh, like I like listening to you, but I don't know if I'd invite you to a keynote speech. I promise you, anything like that, I do keep things much tighter. Not just like, this is just like a chat, yeah. Where was I? Being in dialogue with yourself. There we go, and not getting overwhelmed. Yeah, so there's techniques that you can learn to check in with those feelings, see what's going on, process them, and then come out. I think the term is called titration. Pretty sure I've got that right. I often have that, by the way. I wonder if you have that with your sector, where like you know there are words. Yeah, you know the words, but as soon as you say them, you're like, is that the right word? Are they going to think I'm a fraud if I don't know that word, or I've got it wrong? Is someone else going to come on and be like, that's not the correct use of that word? That often goes through my head. Yes. So, grief, it's a whole thing. I still feel like I'm learning things about it. Less than that. This feels like I'm more in the territory of like, oh, this is like an ongoing thing. It's like an ongoing condition that you live with. As opposed to like an experience that you have that's in the past and then you kind of work through it. And I guess that makes sense, isn't it? Because like there's the event of the death, but then they remain dead and they remain not in your life. So of course you're going to have moments when you're like, oh, I miss my dad. It's like because he's not here. Sounds so silly, doesn't it? You're like, oh yeah, they're just like they're still dead. So that's still an experience of my life. Yeah, and there's things that, you know, I would have messaged him about how work is developing and people that I meet, and I always used to take photos of things I was eating and stuff, particularly when I used to go up to Cambridge, because my dad grew up in a little village called Downton in Wiltshire. Grew up in a council home, you know, and then ended up in like the Foreign Office as a senior leader. So like getting into Cambridge was a big deal for my family, and I know he was really proud that I did. So I used to love sending him, you know, like messages around what I'd eaten for dinner and who I'd met and who I'd spoken to, even though, you know, by that point he'd had like this really big career himself. Yeah. Right. I didn't have a plan for this talk. I just thought I'd get on and say hello and see what I had to say about grief and working with it these days. Maybe I'll just leave you with Pedro. There you go. I meant to have a call to action. Oh yeah, how about subscribe to this channel if you haven't already? Oh yeah, subscribe to this channel and you can apply to have a question answered in this series. There should be a little link below, and if not, it is in the description for the channel as a whole. But until then, my friends, isn't he the most beautiful thing in the world? Hello, I love you. if you can, if you want to, and you're sad, get a dog or borrow a dog. There's a lovely lady that I follow on LinkedIn called she runs a company called Borrow My Doggy, which I think is great because not everyone can have dogs. Anyway, there you go. I'll see you soon, my friends. Lots of love. Bye.